In school, all the kids who were like cool and never got picked on and bullied, they're all losers.
I agree.
But then you have all the geeks who got picked on. He's a tech billionaire. As a man, trauma is super important, and bullying and body shaming and shit, we give it to each other all day. So if my son was getting bullied, I'd be like, well, what they picking on you for? Oh, I look like a geek. You do look like a geek.
I think that the masculine realm of bullying is actually very, very powerful. A true friend expects the best of you. I think if I were to go home right now and say I'm too sad to work, everyone would call me a dickhead. What do you mean you're too tired to work? What are you talking about? I think that peer pressure and camaraderie that comes with the masculine world, a lot of it can be delivered in a non-PC way, but that's actually the power of it. So I expect my friends to hold me to a high regard. I mean, we're all busy getting things done and we all expect the best of each other. I would never have friends who don't do what they're supposed to do. We're a group of people, we're all competent people, and we do what we're supposed to do. And if there was one person who continually failed, they wouldn't be our friend very long because we wouldn't have any shared values. Irregardless of how I feel, I have things I'm supposed to do and they must be done, whether I'm happy or sad. If I wake up sad or I wake up happy or I wake up angry, I have the same schedule for the day. I just don't understand the importance we put on feelings was never something, I mean, this is a modern phenomenon, right? Men had duty and honor, and how they felt was not to be taken into consideration because they had things they were supposed to do. Now, once again, now everything's become subjective. Perhaps we're highlighting the importance of feelings amongst men because one, we're trying to feminize them, and two, we're trying to make everything subjective once again. He doesn't go to the gym because of XYZ, or he feels down, or he's depressed, or he has ADHD, or whatever fucking garbage you come up with. That's fine, but he needs to go to the gym. So we've removed the needs, and we've removed the hard facts and the duty and the honor and the commitments, and we've replaced it all with this subjectiveness, and there's nothing more subjective than feelings. How I feel inside on a day I say I'm happy might be the exact same way someone feels inside on the day they say they're sad, because they only think they're happy when they're running around laughing like a child, whereas I think I'm happy as long as I'm not distraught. I don't really give a shit how the men I know feel, because they have things they need to do. And as long as they're going to do them like they're supposed to do them, I don't really care that much. And if they were to come to me and say they feel down about something, and they had a good reason, I wouldn't be insensitive. But we're talking about a death of a family member or something, and we're talking about 1 or 2 days until you just get back to life. You have things to do. There are people in Gaza right now whose families are getting blown to smithereens. Are they sitting around doing therapy, or are they rebuilding their homes? Time solves all things. God solves all things. And to sit around and be obsessed with feelings is highly feminine. I don't like that energy around me. I think this obsession with feelings in general is, once again, purported by the Matrix, and they're trying to convince everybody that if you feel a certain way, it's okay to act a certain way, when truthfully, it's not. Like, you're not allowed to act on your anger or act, especially as a man. Women do this all the time. I had my period. So? You're an adult. You're not allowed to scream at people. You're an adult. Control yourself. If you can't control yourself because you feel a certain way, then you're not allowed an opinion on anything because you're still a fucking kid. For all the women who say they do certain things because they can't control themselves, even though they're a full-grown adult, why are you voting and having an opinion on anything? Because you're still a fucking child. I feel angry. I don't shoot anyone. I feel sad. I don't cry. It's the adult mentality. So feelings don't cross my mind, if that makes sense. They don't cross my mind because they don't affect my day.
Names a single attribute for masculinity which is going to come from a place other than trauma or pain. I talk about this all the time. People say I've had a traumatic life. I say, well, then you're very, very fortunate. You had a traumatic life. Now, you may have misused that trauma. You may have misplaced it. You may have accepted the Matrix telling you that you now have an excuse to fail, as opposed to using it to grow. But every single man of value went through trauma, and they went through pain. It's going to be painful to get strong, painful to get rich, painful to become important. It's going to be painful to become good with women. Your heart's going to get broken a bunch of times. You have to be prepared for the pain. If you're not ready for pain, you're never going to be anything that matters. My kickboxing coach used to say to me, I used to come in the gym, say, what do you hate the most? And I say, I hate running. I say, okay, you're going running. I say, why? He goes, because whatever you hate is what you need. Whatever you hate is what you need. I want to spar, bag work, pads, no problem. Running, I didn't want to run, but that's what you need. And that's what life's about. You're not going to be able to go through life avoiding pain and also becoming a man of quality. You need to find something you're afraid of, find something that could hurt you, and go do it. If you cannot control your own mind, then you are just a feather in the wind of life, because your own mind is the only thing you can control. You can't control the weather. Right. You can't control other people. You can't even control whether your heart stops beating. You might have a heart attack tomorrow. You can't control anything besides what you think. If you cannot control your own mind, then you go through life with zero control. Zero influence. You can't control anything. You're just a feather in the wind, waiting for life to blow you from happy place to sad place to happy place to sad place, completely hoping on the gods to be fortunate to you, because if any genuine discomfort comes your way, you're fucked. It is trained like everything else in life. It is trained. So if you find yourself not appreciating what you have until it's gone, then you must blink and cure your brain. If you find yourself unable to focus or concentrate on tasks, you must blink and cure your brain. If you find yourself unable to go and dedicate yourself to something you don't want to do, you must blink and cure your brain. I can't imagine a mind frame or a mindset where I want to do something and can't do it.
Right.
So it's almost difficult for me to answer that question, because if you have that kind of mind, if your mind is so fundamentally broken that you cannot do with your own mind what you want to do,
right,
you know, like that, then you're just fucked, right? Life is hierarchical. There's always going to be kings and there's always going to be peasants. If you have a mind that you can't control, then you're never going to be a king. You're going to be a peasant. That's your life. You have a peasant's life ahead of you, and that's your destiny. Enjoy, right? There's always been peasants. That's life. But I believe that the most important thing you can do as a man is to gain control of your mind. Once you have control of your mind, life is so ridiculously easy. It's so ridiculously easy. It's so easy to be in. People say to me, Tate, you're in good shape. All you do is drink vodka and travel the world. You're never even home. You never even have a gym. How do you do it? It's ridiculously easy if you control your mind. If I decide to do 1,000 push-ups, I'll do them. Maybe I have to do them one at a time. Maybe I'll get tired. Maybe I need a break. I'm going to do 1,000 because I said I'm going to do 1,000. It's not fucking hard. Everyone knows what they're supposed to do. Once you control your mind, it's easy, right? Getting over a breakup with that bitch. You miss that girl, you're upset, you miss her with all your heart, da-da-da. But once you realize she's gone, if you control your mind, she's gone now. She's gone now, I'm gonna miss her. That's a shame. Off to the gym.
What's like your advice to a guy who's whatever, he could be coming out of university or in his 30s, but he's like looking for a little direction. How do you start off, get centered to become successful, you know, get money, get bitches? Like what would you tell them?
I can answer that question in so many different ways. There's like 10 different answers I can give. But I think truthfully, in the world we're living in now, I use this analogy a lot. Maybe I overuse it, but you need to find a way to some degree to escape the matrix. And I say the matrix because the matrix, the way it is designed.
And you're not just talking shit because you've actually done that.
I've escaped the matrix.
Yeah.
I've literally escaped the matrix in nearly every form. So any form of oppression no longer applies to me. I can't be canceled. I can say what I want. My finances are secure. I've escaped the matrix. And when I talk about the matrix, it primarily applies to men because men are the backbone of the slave force. We always have been and always will be. And unfortunately now, if you're a law-abiding man inside the matrix, your future and the life that is laid out for you is nothing but depressing. You're going to go to school, you're going to get in debt, you're going to get a job, you're going to get a wife, divorce is coming, you're going to lose the house eventually, your job's shit, inflation's outpacing your wages, you're going to work, no one's going to appreciate it, now you're old and your life's over. That is the matrix for 99% of men. And you need to find a way to escape it. And I guess I was kind of fortunate from a young age. I always knew that the matrix was coming and that the system is designed to oppress. The people who make the rules do not make the rules for the benefit of us. They make the rules for the benefit of the people who make the rules. And I knew that. And I think every person intrinsically knows that. Like if it's 4 a.m. and you're sitting in a gas station and a Lambo pulls up, you're probably thinking drug dealer or criminal. You're not thinking, oh, he definitely went to school. The system is absolutely broken. It's designed to oppress. And that the majority of people who stick to the rules are going to lose. I don't want to sit here on a podcast that goes out to this many people and encourage anyone to break the law in any form.
Of course.
But the idea of the law-abiding citizen has been decimated in real time. In the last 3 years ago, you could stand there and proudly say, I'm a law-abiding citizen. The last 2 years, if they have not taught you that being a law-abiding citizen is going to turn you nothing into a fucking experiment for Big Pharma, then you're an idiot. You can no longer obey the law. And I'm not saying you have to break the law, but you need to find a way to do what the elites do, which is bend the law.
Yeah.
You can no longer sit there and go, I'm just going to follow the rules and it's going to be okay. No, it isn't. And if you're a man, it's your job to find a way to not be sticking to those rules enough to escape the matrix and become free. Because what's actually most crazy about this period of history is that it's actually the easiest time in human history to become rich. So I'm very, very happy that my life has been difficult because it's impossible to become a capable man or a man of my capability without struggling with facing serious adversities, without trying to overcome often insurmountable odds. I grew up in South Side of Chicago. I'm obviously a person of color. I was bullied in school
to a degree. And my father always taught me to stick up for myself. I was never allowed to run and cry to authority. I was told that if someone wants to mess with you or come at you, you can't always go tell the teacher. Sometimes you have to deal with it. I was actually picked on by these two kids when I was riding the school bus home. I think I was around 5 and they were around 7. They were a bit older than me, and they used to pick on me on the school bus. They'd sit behind me, throw things at me, hit me, etc. And I came home and I told my dad about it. I said, "Dad, these 2 kids are picking on me every single time I get the school bus. I don't know what to do." And my dad said, "I'm not going to call the teacher because the teacher ain't on the bus. And I'm not going to call the school bus driver because they're busy driving. Son, if you want to deal with this, you're going to have to deal with it yourself." And I said, "But Dad, they're bigger than me. What do you want me to do? There's 2 of them and they're bigger than me." And at the time, I'd just come home from school and I was holding a lunchbox. My dad pointed and said, "You have a lunchbox, son? Teach them." So weeks had passed. It was a few weeks. They kept picking on me, and I felt myself sitting there getting more insecure, and the rage was boiling inside of me. And one day, one of them slapped me in the side of the face from behind. I was sitting on the chair. He slapped me in the face from behind. And instantly, I don't know what it was, but this was the day I had enough, and I turned with my lunchbox and swung it over the back of the school bus chair and caught him and busted his eye clean open. The plastic Batman lunchbox hit him in the eye, and blood started squirting everywhere. All the children started screaming. And as I did this, the bus had just come up to a stop. It was a few stops before my stop, but it had stopped. And as the bus stopped and the screaming happened, I just got up and I just ran off the bus and ran home. I've never run so fast or so far in my life. I was full of adrenaline. I just ran. When I got home, I had blood on my clothes, and my dad looked at me. He said, "What happened?" And I said, "That kid," I won't say his name. I said his name at the time. I said, "That kid, he hit me in the face, and I had enough of getting hit in the face." And I was still holding the lunchbox, but it was all smashed up where I'd hit him with it. And my dad kind of smiled a little bit and said, "Don't worry, son. Get in the car." We got in the car and we went to Walmart. We walked up and down the aisle, and he looked and picked up another lunchbox, an exact replica of the same blue Batman lunchbox, gave it to me and said, "I'll buy you as many of these as you need." And that was the last we spoke of it. Funnily enough, I never saw that kid again. I don't know if he changed schools. I don't know what his parents did, but I never saw that child again. So even from a very, very young age, I was taught that going to authority and crying and hoping someone else is going to fix your problems is not the way a man should conduct himself. When I left Chicago, I moved to Luton, England, which was multiple times voted the worst town in England. It's a high crime rate. It's a very bad area. My mother and father broke up, so I was in a single mother household. And now I'm a person of color in a single mother household. I'm also the only American at the time in Luton. And I had, again, repeat problems in school. I was picked on for being the only American. I was picked on for not knowing things I should have known because I hadn't been through the English educational system. I'd been through the American educational system. And I had trouble in school again, but I stuck up for myself. Unfortunately, nothing got violent at any point. But when people made fun of me, I stood up and said, "Listen, don't make fun of me. I'm from a different place and I talk differently." And I always understood that standing up for yourself, I never went to the teacher, I never cried to anybody else. I just stood up for myself. And over time, people learned respect for me and my boundaries, and they were very respectful of me. And I had a very positive experience from then on out in school by simply standing up for myself, because this is how I was taught to act. In high school, I ended up having a reputation of a guy that nobody really messed with. I certainly wasn't a bully, absolutely the opposite, but no one really picked on me. I actually had a friend in school who was gay. I had 5 main friends in school, and I was also friends with a gay guy. And he would make fun of me for being American, and I would make fun of him for being gay back then. But the world was a very, very different place.